So I say if you really care about them, then you want to get them started on strength training.
Yeah, guys, if your parents are not doing strength training, please send this video to them. Welcome to the Fitness Achievers channel, your go-to source for experts' insights on personal training, health, and wellness. My name is Matt Lim from Fitness Achievers, where we bring personalized fitness solutions to your doorstep. Whether your goal is to build muscle, to lose weight, to improve stamina, or just general health and fitness, we're here to help. Every month, we sit down with our certified coaches and partners to explore topics that matters to you, helping you achieve your goals with confidence and convenience. Let's dive into our topic today. Alright, so allow me to introduce one of our very good coach, David. Okay, so just for your information, David is one of our most hardworking coach. He is also our head of mentors and also a senior mentor, and he holds other positions also in the company. Okay, David, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Like, what is your background? How long you have been with the company, and maybe why you started PT?
Hi guys, I'm David from Fitness Achievers. So I've been in service with FA for 5 years now. So I graduated from a sports science background, so in a bachelor's in exercise science, same as Matt as well. And the reason why I started diving into this industry was out of passion. Right, so I discovered throughout my whole years as I go through high school, college, once I started the gym. So when I started, I was just like any typical gym goer. So started very skinny, very scrawny, right? So my goal was actually just to look normal. Right? I didn't have the intention to try to look a bit muscular or anything. I just wanted to look like normal, as if not, or some people say not anorexic, right?
Not too skinny, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So that was my initial goal. So that was when, I think at the age of 15, I believe, I started exercising a bit, not in the gym, but at home. So funny story is that me and my brother, and along with one of my closer cousins, we actually went to the mall, and then we saw a dumbbell set. You know, like those, they sell it in sports shops. Those 4 kilo dumbbells that comes in a pair. So we saw there was a good deal on it. They having discounts. We thought, we just buy it lah. So what we did, we bought it. Each one of us, my brother and myself, we took one side, and then the other side, my cousin took it. So we only had one pair, not one pair, but just one singular.
Just one dumbbell.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a 4 kilo one. So that is where I started, right? So at home, I was just doing all I did was just bicep curls at the time, because that was all I knew. Then I was on that for about 6-7 months.
Oh, okay.
Then that's where, after that, I started going to the gym with one of my high school friend. So that's where everything started lah, and this is where we ended.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So one question: did your brother still working out today or no?
He's seasonal.
Seasonal.
Yeah.
Okay. So me and David, we have a few things in similarity. Like David mentioned, we are both from sports science, and there's one good word: passion. I strongly believe that in order to excel in this industry, we need to have passion. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so our topic for today is something that I've always been very looking forward, which is strength training for elderly, and why is it so important? Okay, David, so you see, especially after COVID, we can actually see a trend in elderly clients, whether willingly or whether they own self take the initiative to hire us as trainer, or we also see a group of their children started hiring us to train their parents. Now, so there's this trend coming up. So maybe you can share a little bit about your own experience in dealing with these clients. Like, do you have any clients right now who is considered elderly? Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a vast population size of elderly, but I have about my own fair share, like 4 or 5 of them that are 55, and then the few more above 60 years old.
Okay.
So my experience with them, of course, each one of them coming to or engaging with us for different reasons.
Yep.
But So far, I would say at least half of them, of the clients that I train that are above 55 or 60 years old, they started off with no experience at all when they first engaged with us. So then after a while, after training for a while, that's where they realize, wow, I can really see the benefits of strength training. And that is what kept them going up till today.
Okay, so that kept them going. What about you? How do you personally feel when they tell you that they have improved? How does it make you feel as a trainer and as an individual?
At this point, I would say that is the most, training this group of clients is actually the most rewarding for me now. Initially, it used to be like, I'm just training client, I want them to look good, to feel good. But then now when I'm exposed to this group of clients and seeing their feedbacks and seeing their results, it actually makes me as a trainer very fulfilled.
Understand. Can you give a specific example or incident where their feedback means so much to you? Do you have one?
So for example, I have this client that is over 60. So she has gone through she has been training before this as well, but then she's also had this knee, like where the meniscus is thinning, and then they have to go for surgery in that case, right? So just to have a replacement. So she went for a partial replacement, and during that time, once she finished the surgery, the doctor actually told her like it will take you up to close to a year at least for you to get back to normal functioning.
Okay.
Right. So what happened was that after surgery, she took one month break from training. Then she decided I want to start a bit earlier. Right. So of course, once she came back, we started very slow. Of course, her range of motion or mobility in some movements definitely reduced a lot. So we started off very slow. Again, you can almost say like she lost whatever that she had previously. But the thing is that literally just 1.5 months later, she's pretty much almost 70% of what she was before.
Wow.
And when she went for a checkup again, like 2 months later, the doctor couldn't believe it.
Surprise.
Said, wow, how do you get to this point at this rate? Like, it's definitely something that will usually take a long time for most people. But you're already just 2 months in, and you can perform what you can do now. So that is something that I find very rewarding.
Amazing.
As a trainer.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more on the scientific approach. So when we start training an elderly, how do you usually assess them, or what do you look at?
All right, first of all, definitely I'll assess them through a few movements, usually things like hinging, where you push your hips back, which assesses on the hip mobility, and then other aspects like your squat, which assesses how much strength you have in your lower body, and then things like pushing or pulling movements, and also their gait, which is walking. Right. So what I look for in these movements are things like the range of motion, first of all, whether they are able to extend or bring their limbs in a full range of motion, and if not, how much to a degree can they actually go, and then of course, in any of those movements, do they feel pain? If yes, to what degree onwards, then they start feeling pain. And then lastly, I'll look at the stability of their joints. So for instance, at certain movements, let's say for a squat, right? If their knees are not that stable, which means they are not that strong, then you definitely see some obvious signs of instability, etc. So those are the aspects that I look for during the assessment phase, so that I know exactly what do they need and how to tailor their program accordingly.
Wow, okay. Nice. Okay, so to add on what David say, so basically human being, okay, we have 7 fundamental movement pattern, right? So there is the pushing movement, okay, there's like opening a doors, and then there's the pulling movement, just like closing a door, and then we have our squat, okay, like every time when we sit up and sit down, okay, there is a squat, and then we have our lunges, okay, lunges is just like going up the stairs, and then we have our gait, the walking, and we have rotation, right? Twisting, like going to the back and take things, and the last one is hinge, okay? Right, this one. So both of us, we train a lot of elderly clients. So if you are looking at this podcast, this is very important. These are the 7 movement patterns that you do every day in your life. So when we are training elderly client, right, we need to make sure that they are actually covering all these 7 movement pattern. Means all the exercise that we give has to include all that, and that will keep them functioning and independent.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So tell me a little bit about, you see, every demographic, right, has their own set of challenges. So when you're training this group of people, what are the common challenges that you face?
Usually, from my experience, there's only 2 issues. The first one and most common one is that they're afraid of getting injured. Right?
Okay, getting injured. All
Getting
right.
into strength training and going to a gym
Yep,
would
yep.
cause an injury. And then second one is not so common, but it happens as well. They're afraid of getting too big, right? Too
Okay.
bulky, too muscular.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Afraid of getting too big. Wow, I'm also afraid of getting
Yep.
too big. If only it's that easy, right? Okay, right? Okay. Then how do you usually address this? Like if they voice their concern to you, what is your usual approach to telling them that?
Let's say we use the first one, which is afraid of getting injured,
Yep.
which is the most common, I believe, as well among anyone that is also in the age group which is considering strength training.
Yep.
So usually that is where, as a coach, we'll have to be a bit more empathetic, right? Of course, we cannot just say, oh no, don't worry about it, and just dismiss it. But we have to understand why do they feel that way. Maybe because they may have had past experiences, or let's say they have no experience in strength training, but they know of someone that did strength training and then got themselves injured.
I see.
So maybe that could be based on someone else's experience that they heard of. So what we do is usually we listen to them first, and then of course from there we try to explain why this may have happened to them, and what usually is a more appropriate way to approach it, so that we don't go to that route where you hurt yourself from doing something that is in the gym, like an exercise or anything.
Understand.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the second part? The afraid of getting too big.
Well, usually the more sarcastic way or humorous way, I'll say that, well, just look at me. Am I too big? Right? Because I wish that was the case as well.
Yeah, we all wish that it was that easy, right?
Yep.
Okay. And also same, for elderly or female, it's not that easy to get so big.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So David, now, when we talk about training elderly, there is all this misconception. But can you tell our audience why is strength training for elderly no longer optional but necessary? So because we have a lot of people that they may not know the benefit yet, and they may be fearful because strength training looks like something that is you can easily get injured compared to the traditional, like just go on a walk on the park or things like qigong. So tell our audience, why do you think it's a necessity now?
Yeah, definitely I'll say it's a necessity, and I will also add on is once you get to a certain age, for example 65 and above, I would say it's even more important for you to be engaging in strength training.
Yep.
Because the reason why is that if we look at how we are human nature, right, or how we progress as we age, we actually start losing muscle mass the moment we reach 30 onwards. So it's a lot faster than what we actually expect. So from researchers wise, what it shows that from the age 30 onwards, you actually start losing between the range of 3% to 8% of your total muscle mass each decade. So what that means is that from, let's say, 30 to 40 years old, you may lose between 3 to 8% of muscle mass. Then 40 to 50 years old, another 3 to 8%. And surprising thing is that once you reach 65 and above, it actually drastically increases.
The
That can
percentage
go up
of
to
loss.
1% per year.
Okay.
So just imagine, like, let's say, just now I was saying, from 30 to 40 years old, you lose, let's say, 5% muscle mass. Then another decade, up to 50, another 5%. Just imagine 20, 30 years down the road, when it compounds, how much it actually affects. So not many people take note of this. Like, for example, we know that obesity is an epidemic, right? And it's quite a big issue as well. But what is not brought up often is what we call this as sarcopenia, or some people
sarcopenia.
pronounce it as sarcopenia, right? Which is the loss in muscle mass, right? Which is equally as, I would say, as dangerous as obesity, because this can affect your, it can even be an early predictor of death if the rate of sarcopenia is very high.
Yep.
Yep. So as we age, if we do not do anything about it, the significance of loss of muscle mass is actually a lot greater as we go through a certain.
Understand?
Yep. So
Okay, so in a very general term, muscle is something that you need to use it or you risk losing it. Okay, so this is why it's important. So now, David, when we talk about sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass, how does strength training actually help to reverse or can help you to maintain muscle mass? Can you walk us through our audience a little bit of this process?
right. So just to I try my best to break it down the scientific way into as simple as possible.
Yep.
So when we talk about muscle, the only way for muscle to progress or rather to continue to grow or even just maintain it is that it has to be exposed to stress.
Understand? Yep.
Or in other words, if you're talking about more scientific terms, that word is called tension. Right? So it has to be exposed to a certain amount of stress for it to continuously grow or to even just maintain its structure.
Yep.
So what happens is if you look at an average lifestyle of a human, especially in this time of age, once you reach at the age of not even 30, let's say once you graduated from college or university, once you go into a job, what's the most average thing that we do? Usually it's mostly in front of a desktop or a monitor. You're constantly sitting down, then
Becomes sedentary.
correct.
Yep.
So once you're done with work, you're already usually so tired, right? Then you just go back home, relax. So our average lifestyle is actually very sedentary.
Yep.
So if you're talking about your muscles being stressed or exposed to external stress, is really very
Little, right?
very little.
Okay.
So hence that's why the rate of people experiencing muscle loss is actually a lot higher now if you look at the data compared to it, let's say we are talking about 40, 50 years ago.
Yep. Because there's more physical work also at that time.
Correct.
Yep. Now, technology is a good thing, but in another way, it also makes us less active,
Yeah.
right? So now, with like for example, with GrabFood, you don't even need to go out. Okay.
Yep.
So there is a danger of this technology. Okay. So then there's so many forms of exercise. We have walking, we have yoga, we have badminton or any sports. Naturally, every physical activity is good, but can you tell me a little bit about, like I'm also an advocate on strength training. So why does strength training is a better exercise, not better exercise in terms of anything, but a better exercise in preventing muscle loss? Can you explain a little bit compared to maybe walking or yoga?
Yeah, so if we look at the nature of the exercise alone, if we were to, let's say we talk about strength training now,
Yep.
the whole idea of strength training is to lift weights, right? What happens when there is external weight that is being placed on your body? That is the logic of how you get to gain strength or gain muscle mass from the gym itself. Because there is an external stress that's acting against your muscle. Whereas for other activities like let's say walking for example,
Yep.
or yoga has a certain degree of external stress coming from your body weight, or say badminton for example,
Yep.
just now I used that example.
Yep.
So there is no, in that nature of movement alone, any movement that you do during badminton, there's hardly any external stress that's acting against your body,
Understand?
right? Because you're just trying to hit a shuttlecock, trying to move around the
Yep.
court. So compare that with weight training, where literally you're trying to place the weight on that specific muscle or those group of muscles alone.
Yep.
That actually is the differentiating factor between weight training with other forms of activity. So
Understand.
that is how weight training, or rather strength training, is actually a better way in terms of reversing or at least trying to delay sarcopenia from
Okay.
happening.
Understand. Well, when you talk about badminton and how it didn't give us that stimulus, right? One of my classmates, his name is SK. He's a badminton expert. I remember there's once I played with him. There's so much of lunges. There is so much of running because he stands in one place. He makes me run to the left. He makes me run to the right. He makes me run to the front and do lunges. So I think if I play a lot with him, I will get a lot of stimulus on my leg. Okay. Right. So now, how would you usually program a training for someone elderly? Let's say this client just came to you, 70 years old, right? and he said he wanted to start strength training. Okay, what would you recommend him? How many times should he train, and what would you make him do? Like, can you give us a sample of exercise, like squats or anything? Yeah, walk us through.
Yeah, this one is actually, I would say, quite subjective because the answer is it really depends. Because there are several factors that we have to look at. Things like their experience, if they have any experience at all in strength training or not. And then we have to look at their current lifestyle. Are they very physically active or are they quite sedentary? And then, of course, other aspects like any current injuries that they may be having, any medical conditions. So let's say, just to give you an example, let's say if it's someone that is very sedentary and has had no experience in strength training before, then usually what my approach would be is, of course, the first few times we're going to start very slow. Maybe not even exposed to weights yet, meaning like dumbbells or anything. In fact, maybe it might just be using body weight alone, because that itself can already provide enough stimulus for the body to react a little bit. So once you get to that certain stage where body weight feels quite easy, that is where you know, okay, their body has probably already adapted to that stimulus that is their body weight. So now it's time to progress. Now they have the capability to actually bring in things like dumbbells or
resistance band, machines, that kind of thing. Yep.
So it's it's an ongoing process where you slowly get their bodies to adapt to a certain stimulus. It might be very small stimulus. For some example, just now I was saying your body weight alone. Some people may find a body weight squat itself very difficult because they have never done it before, and then their muscles do not have that capability to support that yet. So they may just start from even just a partial squat, not even a full one yet. Alright, so it's very subjective in this matter, and then it requires a lot of context. So there are a lot of aspects like that that we have to look at in order to know exactly what is the appropriate dose for them when it comes to programming.
So to be honest, if a client who is above 60, 70, and if they are unable to do a squat, actually it's very dangerous already. Because you see, you are squatting in your everyday motion just by sitting down and coming back up. So if you cannot do a squat, that should be a wake-up sign to do something lah. Okay. Now I have one very interesting questions, like because it's never too late to start training, right? Okay.
Correct.
So can you share a little bit about if a client comes to you and say that since I can gain the benefit of strength training anytime, can I just enjoy life until I'm 60 first, then only I start training at 65? Versus if I start training early, maybe at 25. What is your, how do you explain to these kind of people? Oh, just so you know, I believe David is also a very financial, how to put it this way, he's also into financial, like investing and everything. So I believe the example that he's gonna use here will relate to financial. Better start earlier. Okay, David, what's your take?
So if we to put it that way, right, let's say in a finance aspect or context. So let's say if you start early, you start, what I mean by this is that you start saving or let's say you get into knowing about financial management a bit earlier, let's say at the age of 25, right? Then obviously you start making wiser choices and you start looking into the future. So you start saving properly, you start managing your expenses, you start using the savings to invest wisely. So what happens is that what most people underestimate is the effect of compounding.
I understand.
So it may start small first, doesn't matter, 200 ringgit per month that you save in and invest. What happens if you look into 10, 20 years ahead? Your savings will just get bigger over time. Whereas if you just start doing that at the age of 50, you can get some effects, but not much to a degree. Like maybe let's say the size would be a lot smaller than what you could have done if you do it earlier. So in the same way, when we talk about strength training, when you just now mentioned some people come to you saying like, why not I just start 10 years later if I can still gain muscle later on. So the thing is, you may not have as much of an effect when you do it when you start at 60 years old compared to when you start at say 25 or 30 years old. Right? Because you have already built that foundation so early. Hence, what happens when you go through that whole those many years ahead, the compounding interest will actually continuously add on and add on.
Correct.
Versus if you start at, let's say, 60 years old,
Mm-hmm.
then you start from, or maybe you can even add, by the time you're 60 years old, you may not be able to already do certain things because you have
Understand.
neglected the
Correct.
past few years earlier on, right? But then at the same time, mentioning that, that doesn't mean that if you are already in your 60s and 70s, you have not done anything, doesn't mean that, oh, it's too
You
late
should
to
give
start.
up. Yeah, it doesn't mean you should give up. Yep.
Yeah, it gives you all the more, I'll say, all the more reasons you have to start right now, not delay
Correct.
it anymore.
Correct. Okay. So guys, start strength training early. Start investing early. Even if you're at 60, you just want to start. Also, just start.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Now, we are in an Asian part of the world, right? So tell me one thing that just makes you irritated when it comes to elderly and the way we do things. I give you an example from myself first, from my part first. We know that there's a lot of people who stay in landed property, right? And then usually, when there's a double story, so maybe the elderly who is staying in the upper floor. I'm very against when someone goes older, you move him or her from the second floor down without finding the alternative for them to exercise. Because let's analyze. This guy or this girl who's been going up the stairs and down the stairs for so many years, that gave him exercise, stimulus on your legs. Now, by taking him or her down, you eliminate that exercise. So what happens now is he or she will not have the exercise, and that's where they lose the muscle mass. Now, the idea is, of course, it comes from a filial part of human nature, because my parents are maybe getting older. I don't want them to move so much. I'm afraid of getting injured or fall down the stairs. The idea is good, but then you guys need to think of another way to replace the exercise. If you want to move your parents down to the first floor, maybe get a cycling machine for them so that they can continue to work then. Don't rob them away from this opportunity to work on their legs. That is what makes me annoyed lah. Okay? What about you, David? What is the one thing that makes you annoyed?
Basically, yeah, I think I agree with you a lot as well. So that is something that we see very often happening in households as well, where there involves an elderly person.
Yep.
So that is where I would say that is one of the contributing factors to sarcopenia being so vast nowadays.
Yep.
Right? Because if you look at, we are basically trying to move them into a more sedentary lifestyle.
Correct.
Right? As the years go by, we make them less active throughout the whole day, less movement. So what do we expect out of that, right, when we are doing that? And then I think there's also this, I think there's a lack of awareness when it comes to, when we're talking about senior citizens and having them to still keep active, making sure that they are constantly moving around. I think there is this stigma where they fear that something will happen to them.
Correct.
But be it an accident and a fall, but there's not enough of a thought of thinking that what if they get more frail and weak if I stop letting them do all these movements.
Yep.
So I think that is something that needs to be brought up a bit more, and it has to have that. We have to instill that awareness within our society that we are not exposing them to exercise, not because of the fact that we are scared to make them fall or if they have an accident, but rather we want to make sure that they do not have that.
Correct.
Yep. So I think that's something that we should really try to instill a bit more into society.
Yep. You see, if you guys watching this channel, right, if your parents are maybe getting older, maybe they're in their 60s, 70s, it's a very natural thing as children, as their son or daughter, to be afraid that something will happen to your parents. So, of course, we can do things like making sure the toilet towels are proper, it's not slippery, because we see a lot of elderly people, once they have a fall, that's where things deteriorate. Because again, let's analyze. When you had a fall, usually you are going to be bedridden. And when you're bedridden, you don't really do anything at all. You don't really use all your muscle. That is where the effect of sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass, will increase so much.
Correct.
And when you go to that point, you will continue to decline, and yeah, we know what comes after that lah. Right?
Yeah.
So
and, to add on to that as well.
Yep.
Like the whole thing of them having falls and being fatal.
Yep.
So that is also one of the more reasons I would say why they should be strength training.
Correct.
Because let's say when we talk about strength training, some of the
Correct.
benefits involve things like, of course, increasing muscle mass is one.
Yep.
But then at the same time, while you're doing that, you're actually increasing your bone density as well.
Correct.
Because when you are exposed to external stimulus like weights or something, your bones are also exposed to that, not just your muscles.
Correct.
So in response, your bones actually gets harder. So let's say what happens if you have a fall or you trip, and your bones are the structure is already quite strong. The probability of you having a fracture is actually a lot lesser.
Correct.
Compared to, let's say, if you have not been active, you have not been strength training at all. So what happens is that with strength training over time, you actually reduce your risk of actually mortality, they call it, right? The risk of when you fall, something bad will happen.
Yep.
So that is something that is often, I think, overlooked as well.
Correct. And also, we can also add on mobility training, balancing training when we are doing strength training. So all that when we keep our parents healthy, strong, and we train on their balance, coordination, that actually can prevent them from having that fall actually.
Correct.
So this is the reason why strength training is very important, especially if you are really above 65. Okay? Okay. I think we covered quite a few things, but I also want to know from you, David, is like if there is our audience consists of these people who are above 65, maybe they haven't started strength training. They may want to start. Or maybe they are sitting on the fences. What is your advice to them? Or how do you encourage these people to take the one step forward to do the strength training?
I would say, first of all, definitely you need to, the most basic thing, if you haven't been doing it, then you have to start now if you want to maintain your quality, if you want to maintain your quality of life, or even try to make it better, right? That's first of all. But let's say you're still on the fence of finding reasons why
you should do it.
I should do it, etc. Maybe you can look at, let's say if you have children, you want to watch them grow, right? You want to watch them get happy, and you want to stay longer to be able to experience more joy with them. Then I think that would be a very good reason for you to consider strength training, because strength training is the key that actually helps you to stay healthier, or rather improve your quality of life as you grow older.
Correct.
Yep. So I'll say find your reason if you are really considering. I mean, if you need a reason, otherwise I think it's quite a basic thing for everyone to be engaging in strength training.
Good. Yep. Okay, so this is your advice for the clients. Okay, and later I also want to share about my advice for the clients. But before I share about that, I also want to ask, because now we are in the PT industry, right? And our team, we have over 35 trainers. So what is your advice for our fellow colleague? Not necessarily just the people in our team, but for other trainers. What would you tell them when it comes to training this group of people? What would you like them to take note of? Is there anything that you want to say to them?
I think the most important aspect is also linking back to the previous point that I mentioned, is to find a strong reason of why you want to train them. Like for me, it was watching them being able to improve their quality of life, and then how happy they are with doing it. For example, I had one client who is in their seniors already. So initially, the one that she didn't have any experience at all in strength training until when she came to me, she was about in her 60s already. Then after 5-6 months in of consistent strength training, now she comes back to me saying that, wow, I can really see a difference. Things like when I used to climb up a flight of stairs, I'll be out of breath already. Now I can climb 6-7 steps, I don't feel anything. And I find that really touching is that she has grandkids, which are very small. Usually, when I talk about grandkids, they are very hyperactive. They're constantly running all around. Correct. So back then, she couldn't keep up with them. So it was a hassle for her to try to play with them,
Yep.
and etc. Now she comes back to me saying, "Wow, I can actually keep up with them. I
Uh-huh.
can carry them."
Uh-huh.
So it brings me so much joy hearing that and
Uh-huh.
seeing how much of an expression that she was having when she was expressing that to me. You can
Wow.
literally see like
Yeah,
her
yeah,
whole
yeah.
face is just brighten up,
Yeah,
brighten
yeah,
up.
yeah.
So I think that is, if I had to give an advice for other coaches who are also dealing with this group of clients, I would say
Yep.
find your reason of, you have to have a strong reason why you want to train them.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's not merely just just training them for the sake of doing it, but
Correct.
rather how can I contribute to their quality of life?
Yep.
How can I make them feel happier in their senior years doing things that they still
Correct.
can do in their younger days?
Correct. Okay, good, good. Okay. Coming to the last, my part. Okay, so if you guys are watching this and if you guys are both 65, you need to do strength training, and these are the two things that you need to focus on. I mentioned just now, early in the podcast, okay, there is 7 fundamental movement pattern. Make sure your exercise cover all these 7. Your push, your pull, your hinge, your squat, your lunge, your gate, and your rotation. All right, so these are the things that you need to focus. And also there are 5 health related fitness which we didn't get to talk. Okay, coming from sports science, we know the health related fitness, there's 5 components. Number 1 is we have the muscular strength. So muscular strength is how heavy you can lift, right? And we have muscular endurance, is how many reps you can do or how long can your muscle endure. Okay. The third part is your cardiovascular endurance, which is your heart health, like how fit you are. Okay. If you are constantly gasping for air just with one flight of stairs, it means that your cardiovascular endurance is not there. Okay. The fourth one is your flexibility. Okay. How good your joints are and what is the range of motion, how flexible you are. That's the fourth. And the last one is your body composition. Just make sure you have a healthy amount of muscle mass, you have a healthy amount of body fat, not too high and also not too low, because too low is also, it looks good but not really that healthy lah. When I say too low is those bodybuilding
Correct.
part, okay? Right? So these are the 2 components that you need to focus. And just to echo what David said is, life doesn't stop at 60. We can see the world actually, people are getting older. No, they're living longer actually. So it's not how long we actually live, but how quality our life is nearing to the end. Like for me, I think I will want to ride a bike until I'm 80, 90. And if I cannot have a proper quality life after that, I rather to go fast. I mean, die faster lah. Don't be bedridden for a few years and that one. Okay, so that's my advice. Start training earlier, and advice to my fellow colleagues and trainers out in industry. When you have the opportunity to train client at this age group, you should be blessed. We should be blessed. The reason is because they, with their amount of years of experience in the working world and everything, they are actually a walking dictionary. Have the sincerity to really help them to improve, and you will receive the same from them. They will help you in ways that you cannot think of, whether it's from physical help or from knowledge and everything. I'm always very happy to work with clients at this group because you've learned so much from them. So yeah, guys, if you are training elderly clients, this is your opportunity. Be blessed, and you really can make a difference in their life. Whether they live a quality life or not so quality life is in your hand. Okay, David, to wrap things up, anything else from you before we end today's show?
Yep, so definitely to anyone that's made it this far, my advice to you, let's say if you know of someone, you have a loved one that is in their already their 60s, 70s. So I would say if they are already not strength training, get them started. Can be something very simple. You don't even have to get them to go to the gym first, right? Things like home workout, do something like a simple squat, simple lunge. Of course, best if it's supervised so that they're doing it the right way. But generally speaking, get them started, right? Because you never know how much of an importance it is until you start seeing the side effects. of not doing it. Right, so I say if you really care about them, then you want to get them started on strength training.
Yeah, guys, if your parents are not doing strength training, please send this video to them. Okay,
All right.
thank you everyone for watching this episode on strength training for elderly, and thank you our invited guest, our coach David, for participating in this one. So we hope you find our discussion insightful and meaningful. So for more information, you can always look at our social media. Thank you for your time, and we see you for the next podcast. Cheers.